So then Wolverhampton Wanderers travel to West Bromwich Albion for a Black Country derby on Sunday. A huge FA Cup fourth round fixture. A fixture that we've been waiting for with fans for a long, long time. Of course, Wolves faced off against West Brom during COVID. Things didn't quite go our way. Things historically haven't quite gone Wolves' way in this fixture, but there is quite a decent gap at the moment between the two sides, something that we've probably not seen for a long, long time. So here's hoping that Wolves can pull off a positive result and beat Albion and qualify for the next round of the FA Cup. Before we kick off though, guys, our friends over at Football Prizes have got once again a brand new prize out for you guys to enter. It's the Max Kilman signed and framed football boot alongside 13 instant win prizes. So this is your chance to win this signed and framed Max Kilman boot. And I'll make sure I leave a link to that in the top of the description down below with the prize draw ending next Wednesday. But yeah, guys, a huge fixture, and it's something. Obviously, I'm going to the game Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it. It's gonna be. I'll be honest, it'll be the first time I've ever sort of experienced a Black Country derby in person. So I'm really quite excited for it, and it'll be an interesting battle. You know, West Brom and Wolves, obviously very different levels at the moment, but West Brom are still getting a lot of positive results. They've got a strong form at home. It's not going to be an easy game, but I am fully confident if Wolves can get an early goal or the first goal of the game, we'll really kick on from there. And in terms of team news, bearing in mind from the sort of position we were in maybe this time last week, it's looking a little bit more positive for Wolves. A big one is that Ryan Aït-Nouri, unfortunately for him, of course, Algeria were knocked out of AFCON, and he's travelling back, and he should be back in Wolverhampton by the end of the week and be available for selection. Gary O'Neill's confirmed today that he will be in the squad for the Black Country derby, which is massive news for Wolves, because although I think Matt Doty's done an alright job there for the last couple of games, Aït-Nouri is going to be a massive boost. Even if we can, I don't think he'll start, but even if he comes off the bench, I think he'll be a real bonus for Wolves. In regards to other team news, Pablo Sarabia as well apparently had a little knock. Hasn't really trained this week. Gary O'Neill's still confident that he should be in the squad for the game, but maybe he is a doubt for this match. But I just think, looking at some of the stats, I'll have some that pop up on the screen throughout the video as well. But Wolves' form haven't won in their last 11 games away at West Brom. Of course, the last one was September 1996. 4-2 win and Ewan Roberts hat-trick. I mean, a repeat of that sort of performance and a hat-trick for a player would be amazing. But Wolves, their form and their record in the FA Cup fourth round in recent years has been pretty good. So we've got through this round a number of times, 3 times in the last 4 years. So we have got decent form in the FA Cup, and I think it's genuinely a really interesting competition this year, because once again in the fourth round there's a lot of all Premier League ties, which means more Premier League teams are going to get knocked out again. I think the draw for the fifth round, if we win, is going to be immediately after the West Brom game on Sunday. So it'll be intriguing. I think if Wolves can get either, equal Premier League opposition or even, lower league opposition, it's a fantastic opportunity for Wolves to get through to, I believe it would be the quarterfinals if we win the fifth round. So that would be massive for Wolves. And Q, I don't think I could deal with the heartbreak of an FA Cup semi-final exit again like we saw years ago against Watford. But Wolves generally at the moment, in the current form that we're on, I believe we can compete with any team, and we've really got some good momentum right now. And I'm hoping that it's going to be a day to remember for Wolves fans. Of course, West Brom fans will hope the opposite, and I'm sure some Baggies fans are going to be watching this video as well. But I'm really hoping that Wolves can do it, and we do the business on Sunday. Of course, predicted lineup for me. I'm actually going to go just the one change after the Brighton game. Due to the news about Sarabia, I'm going to put Jean-Rick Bellegarde in for him. I still think Doc will start ahead of Aït-Nouri. Aït-Nouri should be fit and sharp enough, but it's just due to the travelling and maybe lack of training this week. Is that why I've put him on the bench ahead and starting Doc ahead? But it wouldn't surprise me to see Gary O'Neill try and go as strong as he can and start Ryan Aït-Nouri. So it is Jose Sarr, Doc, Totti, Dawson, who it's going to be really interesting to see Craig Dawson against his former team, Max Kilman, Semedo, Mario Lemina and Tommy Doyle, with Pedro Neto, Mateus Cunha and Jean-Rick Bellegarde. An exciting team going into this Black Country derby. But we do have an opposition perspective. I didn't sling loads of abuse at him. It was genuinely to learn a little bit more about the Albion before this game, because I don't really keep close tabs on the Championship. So it's to learn a little bit more about them and the position that they're in going into this match. And I spoke to Chris from Albion Analysis to find out more about our neighbours. So then, guys, delighted to have the opposition perspective. I'm joined by Chris from the Albion Analysis podcast. Chris, thank you very much for jumping on the channel. I know it's a little bit weird sort of crossing enemy lines, but how are you keeping?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. No, it's no problem, mate. I've got to pop to Staffordshire from time to time. So yeah, always happy to have a chat.
Well, that was one of the debates. Is Wolverhampton actually in the Black Country? But we won't discuss that on the podcast. And I was saying sort of before we started, basically this next sort of 10, 15 minutes to learn a little bit more about the Albion, how you guys are getting on ahead of this game, team news and so on. But to be honest, to completely honest, Chris, I don't keep very, very close tabs on the Championship. We had a very brief chat about how you guys were getting on, but can you give us a quick summarisation on Albion's season so far and what the mood is like amongst the Albion fan base?
Yeah, I mean it's been pretty decent. I think we're definitely above expectations because we went into the season in a bit of a mess, to be honest. Like it seemed like every player was up for sale in the summer. It seemed like the sort of non-explicit messaging from the club seemed to be that if prices were met, that anybody could go, really,
Yeah,
to be honest with you. Fortunately, a lot of teams wanted our players, but also thought we were some sort of bargain bucket and lowballed us with offers. And fair play to Mark Miles. He dug his heels in and went, we're not a charity. Like,
yeah,
if you're not prepared to pay the going rate, you don't get our players. So other than Dar O'Shea, who went to Burnley for what, to be honest, was a very fair price of 7 million quid. We ended up not selling anybody, but we had a bit of a messy start to the season where players were in and out the side. I don't think Corberan quite knew who was staying, who was going. But
yeah,
since then, we've really stabilised. We're fifth in the table, and solidly fifth as well. We until we lost to Norwich at the weekend, we had a little bit of a gap down to the teams in seventh and eighth and that. But we lost a bit of that losing to Norwich. But I mean, our home form has been outstanding. Like, away from home, very different. I mean, away from home, we've got the 16th best record in the division. At home, we've got the fifth best record. And the fifth best record doesn't sound amazing until you take into account the fact that Leeds, Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich are just miles ahead of everybody
yeah.
else. And they're the only four teams with a better home record than us. And those four teams have been running away with the league for weeks and months now. So, yeah, I think it's going pretty well. We've got a lot. Look, you guys are only down the road. You read this. You have the same local radio, the same local news as us, and and to be honest, unless you've been living in a cave, you're not unaware of the problems we've got off the pitch. But on the pitch, we're in a decent state. We've got the best manager we've had in a long while, probably the best manager we've had since Roy Hodgson. He's doing an unbelievable job with very limited resources. He hasn't been able to spend a penny yet, and he's got us fifth in the table. So we're in a decent place. And because this game's at the Hawthorns, you give us a chance because we are so good at the Hawthorns. If it was the Molineux, I don't think it'd give us a prayer with our away record, to be honest with you, because it's awful, but or certainly been awful recently. But at the Hawthorns, we've got half a chance because we play well there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very similar to us, Chris, to be honest. Wolves this year, especially in recent months, Molineux has been a fortress. And I think under Lopetegui, we sort of saw that, but Gary O'Neill has made it even stronger. We've picked up some great wins, but away from home, we have been a little bit ropey. Our last two away results have been good. A draw against Brighton and we smashed Brentford as well. So it gives us that little bit of momentum going into this game. But you mentioned the manager at West Brom there, Carlos Corberan, who, like you said, is doing a good job. And I know a lot of even Wolves fans that I know of singing his praises as well. What are your thoughts on him so far as a West Brom fan? Are there any worries that he may move on to bigger and better things if the Albion don't go up this year?
I mean, there's always worries that he'll move on. I mean, look, you know as well as I do that the general shelf life of a championship manager, one way or another, is 18 months, give or
Yeah,
take. They either don't perform to the level that they want, that they're expected to, and they get fired, or they do perform to the level that we want, and they get picked off by somebody else.
Yeah.
If you're a club in the Championship, unless you're sort of unless you've got a bit of an odd thing going on, like, for example, Mark Robbins at Coventry being able to somehow fly under the radar and just doesn't seem to get approached for jobs or whatever. Most Championship clubs, if you perform well and you don't get promoted, your manager will go. And if you don't achieve what's expected of you, sooner or later, your manager will get picked off. Championship clubs turn over their managers at an incredible rate. So I don't think. I think the old expression is he's here for a good time and not necessarily a long time. Corberan is destined for bigger things than us, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to us, because no offense, but he's destined for bigger things than Wolves. I think he's going he's going right to the top. I mean, this is a guy who's studied under Bielsa and seems to know, he seems to be in that kind of elite manager category where he understands the game tactically. He's unbelievable. Like, he seems to get a tune out of players that other people can't. And because he's come in, and players that were just absolutely on the scrap heap, like Bartley's Albion career looked over. So did Kipre. So did Mowat. And he's just turned these players around. John Swift hadn't started as an Albion player yet, and suddenly he's the most creative player in the division. Corberan just gets a tune out of players. He makes them better, and when they can take on information, Matt Phillips as well. Unfortunately, he's out injured now and potentially for the rest of the season. But before Albion fans would have driven Matt Phillips to any ground in the country to see him leave, probably before Corberan came in. Corberan's come in, and Matt Phillips has been our best player by a mile, and that's just what he does. He's phenomenal. He's King Carlos. He's an absolute legend. And to be honest, he saved this club because we, under Bruce, we were bottom of the table. We were going down, and you couldn't see how it was going to get any better. And we honestly could have ended up in League One, which, all local rivalries aside and everything, you go back many years, we, had a big hand in saving your club with a bucket collection and all that when you were falling through the divisions. And I'm only bringing it up because genuinely we could have gone in the same way. And and as much as we all sort of say, and look, I love beating the Wolves and love the derby days when we win and stuff like that. But honest to God, I don't want to see. I didn't want to see Wolves go bust back then in the 80s, and I wouldn't want to see Wolves or Villa go bust now, because the fans don't deserve it, the people at the club don't deserve it, and also you want your local rivals, because frankly, we've had to wait 12 years for this game in front of fans, and it's rubbish not having local derbies. As much as we had a bit of a laugh and a joke about when you and Villa fell out the Premier League and we were still there. It was funny for about 5 minutes, and then you realise that your biggest game of the season was Stoke City, and it's just boring. And these are the games you want. So, for us to, if we got relegated to League One, I genuinely think our club would have been under some serious threat as to whether it would even have existed. And so Corberan's done a massive job from that point of view, and God bless him for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In terms of style and formation, I know he may well change things up for this game, but what sort of style and formation are you expecting ahead of Sunday's match?
I don't think he will change it up. He has it. It's normally very, very consistently back four, two sitting midfielders, which are your Koslu and Mowat, Swift in front of them, two wide men, which recently have been Wallace and Reach, and then Brandon Thomas Asante through the middle. He has dabbled a little bit with three centre halves from time to time, and it wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if he did that, but I'd still be a little bit surprised. I think he'll go with the same formation that he always does, not least because it kind of suits the fact that we're the underdog in this game, because we don't come out and have a go from minute one. But we like teams to come on to us and break their shape and try and attack us. We back ourselves to defend our box. We'll try not to allow you in behind us. We'll try and suffocate the middle of the park. And we will probably allow you the ball in wide areas because we'll trust ourselves that if you cross the ball in towards Cunha, we'll trust Bartley and Kipre to eat those balls for breakfast. So that will be the plan, and then we will try and hit you on the transition and hope that we've got enough pace and intelligence when we break to do that, which makes me think that Adam Reach might not play because he's not got that pace, and it'll be interesting to see what he does. Because I mean, the big loss is Grady Dink. As much as I'm sure he's delighted that Congo got through last night, if they'd lost, they'd have been coming home, and Grady would have been coming back, and we would have had that pace probably off the bench, but we'd have had it available to us. It'll be interesting to see whether he tries playing Tom Fellows on the other side, because Tom is really, really quick and direct, but he is more of a right-sided player. And it'll be interesting to see whether he starts him on the left, just to give us that pace if we do break against you, because we've lost a bit of that with Grady going to the AFCON, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a player, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Algeria, were knocked out, and it was confirmed yesterday, I think, by the club that he's going to be back again. I don't think he'll start, but should be on the bench for the Black Country Derby, which will be massive for us. In terms of absentees for West Brom, obviously, I know there's a few players that I've seen rumoured and maybe linked to Kushlu. I might be wrong. He came off injured, I think. I'd assume Cora Brown will confirm that in his press conference. Daryl DK as well, I saw might have been injured. Are they going to be big losses if they're not available for West Brom?
Well, I mean, our squad's so small. Anybody's a big loss at this point. It really is. I mean, you know, we've got long-term injuries to the likes of Josh Maja and Matt Phillips. We've got Grady Diangana away at the AFCON. We've just had Jason Malumbi confirmed as possibly out for the rest of the season. He needs to have surgery. You know, we're light, and we're a small squad anyway. You know, Jeremy Sarmiento's gone back went back to Brighton and then went back out to Ipswich. He was replaced by Andy Vyman, but he's cup tied, so he can't play in this game. So, I mean, we're thin on the ground as it is. And it is a big if, because they are just rumours at the moment that DK was injured in training yesterday. If that's true, it's a massive loss, because we've then only got Brandon Thomas Asante as a centre-forward option, and Corbrand does like to change it up on 60, 70 minutes if he's got the two of them available. So not having DK would be huge, not least because, you know, he's obviously had such a litany of injury problems, and, you know, for him to have another setback would be absolutely heartbreaking at this point in time, to be honest with you. Yokoslu, I'm a little bit less worried about, because it just seemed like a bit of a combination of things. Apparently, he had a back spasm in the warm-up before the Norwich game. Said to the gaffer that he was fit and that he could play. He played. He was a shadow of his usual self. He cost us the first goal, and then he went in for a challenge and he just turned his ankle a little bit. And I think there was a bit of enough's enough here with Yokoslu. It didn't. The suggestion seemed to be from Corbrand post game that it wasn't anything too serious. I think it was just probably a build up of a couple of injuries, and they brought him off. I'd be really disappointed if he wasn't fit to play. If he doesn't play, I'll be really worried about us, because I think for me the key battle in the game is Yokoslu versus Mario Lemina in that central midfield. And if Yokoslu doesn't play, with the due respect to him, Chalobah is not up to winning that battle. Like, he's not that sort of a player. And I feel like if Yokoslu doesn't play, we could get overrun in the middle of the park. So I really, really hope he's fit. I think he probably will be, but I really don't want to see Nathaniel Chalobah versus Mario Lemina, because I think that's a mismatch of absolutely epic proportions, to be honest with you.
I know we haven't actually spoken much about the derby itself, Chris, but I mean, I hope you don't mind me saying you're probably a little bit older than I am, because I don't remember things from the 80s and so on. And to be honest, I'm still probably a little bit too young to remember a proper black country derby, really. But for you, are there any big memories? Obviously, the 5-1, I'm sure, is going to pop up as one of the main ones. But is there anything else that sort of comes to your mind that is a really memorable or memory of this fixture?
I mean, look. I mean, do you want me to give your listeners nightmares? I mean, look, I've
Go
been
on.
very fortunate. I'm 41 years old, and in the time that I've been going to watch the Albion, we very rarely lost to you guys. I think I think I've seen us lose to you maybe 3-4 times in my entire Albion supporting life.
Yeah.
We've had a phenomenal record against you over the sort of over the last few years. I mean, I did an article on it for our Substack the other day. I think you've got something like 3 wins in the last 23 meetings between the two clubs,
Wow.
which is, it just goes to show you how dominant we've been in this fixture. I think we were chatting about it off air. I would suggest that this is probably the biggest gap that there's been between the two clubs when they've met, in my memory, because I mean, to be honest, I don't think we've met with the clubs in different divisions for a long while anyway. But for you to be a mid-table Premier League club and for us to be a playoff chasing Championship club, you've only got to look at the 3 teams that went up last season and how they're performing and the 3 teams that came down from the Premier League and how they're performing to see what the gap is between the Premier League and the Championship. So I think it's the biggest gap we've had between the 2 teams. That's not to say we can't get anything out of the game, because we absolutely can. And look, you've seen Championship clubs match or beat Premier League clubs this season. Bristol City knocked out West Ham, for example. So it absolutely can happen. But there is a big gap between the 2 teams, and there's absolutely no point in denying that. In terms of memories in the Black Country Derby, yeah, I mean, obviously the 5-1 stands out. That was an amazing day, and we were well worth that 5-1 as well. And any Wolves fan who says otherwise is kidding themselves, because even in that first half we absolutely battered you, and it wasn't until the second that we really took you apart. To be honest, other than the 5-1, which obviously was very enjoyable, I think the ones that I really enjoyed have been some of the tighter encounters. We obviously came to the Molineux and pretty much secured promotion to the Premier League under Tony Mowbray with a late Zoltan Gera goal, which was brilliant. The 2 playoff games were incredible, and the atmosphere at both of them was absolutely phenomenal. The 3-2 at your place was a heck of a game. It really was. I mean, honestly, I didn't know which way that game was going. It toed and froed. Michael Kitely had a great game for you, but in the end, we just had too much strength up front with Kamara and Phillips. And, in the end, our quality at centre forward just massively told over you, over the 2 legs as well, because obviously Kev popped up with the winner at the Hawthorns, which was a brilliant moment, and probably, to be honest, probably one of my favourite moments in a Black Country Derby, up there with Darren Bradley's screamer in 1993, which you are definitely way too young to remember.
Yeah, I was going to say.
but yeah, we look. I could go on, but frankly, this is not. This is the audience for this is not West Bromwich Albion fans, and you'll have people hitting the 30-second skip button and to find the point at which I stop talking about this, because they just don't want to relive these memories. Oh, but I have got to give a shout out to Keith Curl and that back pass. I mean, that's probably the funniest Black Country Derby moment that I've ever had. But to be honest, I think the most pivotal one, funnily, was a game we didn't win, which was Carlos Vela's last-minute equaliser in Roy Hodgson's first game in charge of the Albion. Because if you'd won that day, you would have gone on to the same points as us in a relegation battle. And, I mean, obviously, that was a season which, you ended up staying up by, I think you end up staying up on goals scored, didn't you, from Birmingham or something mad like that at the end of that season. But nonetheless, the 2 clubs went in really different directions after that game. I still think Roy would have got it right even if we'd lost that game at the Albion, because he was just that good a manager. But it didn't half help getting a point against Wolves that day. And I think if we'd lost that game, you scoring the goal in the first half and then us absolutely battering you all the way through the second half, but just not being able to find a way past Hennessy, who until that last minute mistake had a brilliant game. And I think it would have really put the team would have been on a real low, like going into the coming weeks, because and Roy would have had a right job on his hands to pick them up. I think that last minute goal was I think it sent the two clubs in very different directions. I think for quite a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've managed to avoid each other with fans for a long time. Obviously, a lot of that to do with how Wolves sort of fell into League One. It was a shame. Even during COVID, you had such a poor season, but seemed to get the better of us there as well. But Chris, I am really looking forward to the game. I'm going to ask for a prediction, but in this case, probably a head and a heart prediction because it might make things a little bit easier for you. But what are you thinking ahead of Sunday's match?
Well, I mean, first of all, my prediction generally, and this is always my prediction with Albion, is whoever scores the first goal will go on to win.
Yeah.
Because Albion this season have scored the first goal 15 times, and they've won 13 times, drawn one, lost one. And we've conceded and when we've conceded the first goal, we've taken only 2 points all season when we've conceded the first goal. So the first goal in our games is absolutely massive. If we get it, I do back us to do something. If you get it, I might be covering my eyes. You know what I mean? It could get nasty. But yeah, I mean, heart obviously says Albion to nick it. If we do win it, it'll be tight. It'll be one goal. There's no repeat of a 5-1 on Sunday. I can assure you of that. That Corbrand's teams don't score 5 for a start, but.
They can see 5, Chris, or
do you know what? Like, touch wood, not often, but and I hope not on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, head. Well, look, if I was a neutral, I'd 100% be backing Wolves because why wouldn't you? Premier League side against Championship side. But do you know what? I'm still going to let even a little bit of my heart overrule my head, and I'm going to say 1-1, and we do it all again at Molineux.
Oh wow! I'm not sure how much I could cope with that, but I said this very obviously before you mentioned the stat about first goal scorer. I said on our podcast during the week was the co-host I have there. He's a Wolves fan, but very West Brom based. All the people, people he drinks with, are all West Brom fans, and he's so nervous for the game. I think more for the personal thing. He's going to just get wound up. Well, I said just if Wolves get the first goal, think will be absolutely sound. So it's very interesting that you bring that stat up as well. So
yeah, we're not good at chasing games at all. So yeah, I think if you score first, I think we are in trouble because we're just not good. It's not how we're set up. It's not how we're set up. But equally, if we get the first goal, we are so good at defending it. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I think the first goal is absolutely huge in this game.
Yeah, well, Chris, thank you very much for jumping on the channel. If there are any Wolves fans that may or may not want to listen to your podcast, or even Albion fans that have caught the preview, where's the best place to find you and your work?
It's Albion Analysis is the podcast. If you search that on any of the podcast channels, you wherever you get your podcast, you'll find it. Also, you'll find us on X. Again at Albion Analysis, and there's links to our Substack articles. You obviously won't want to read the ones that are about Albion, but I have interviewed a Wolves fan about how they see the strengths and weaknesses of your team. So I don't know, you might want to jump on and see if you agree with his opinion. That article will be out on I believe it will be out sometime on Friday.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Chris. And apart from Sunday, where I do hope we thrash the Albion, all the best for the rest of the season, man. I'll catch you soon.
Well, yep, it's same to you. All the worst for Sunday, but all the best for everything else.
Thank you, mate. Cheers. So then, guys, big thanks to Chris. I'll make sure I leave a link to him and his channels in the description down below. If you want a prediction off me, I do think Albion have got a goal in them, but I think Wolves should be too strong for them. I'm going to go with a 3-1 Wolves win. I'm really hoping it is as comfortable as that. I don't think my stress levels would cope with it being such a close game. But let's wait and see. If you're going to the game, stay safe, enjoy it. If you're watching it on TV, then again, enjoy it. And fingers crossed we can all be celebrating on Sunday afternoon. Of course, all being well, if we win, we'll have a fans react out there as well. And then lots of content coming out. So be sure to hit the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'll catch you all very, very soon. Come on, the Wolves.